All right, we're live. If all is going well, Tanya and Julie are live on Facebook. And if we're not, we're still going to have an amazing conversation with just you and I, and then we'll attempt to get it out to the world. So welcome everyone who is listening right now. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are just joining us or join us along the way, please make sure to ask questions to our guest, Tanya, or really just interact any way you feel comfortable. So I am Julie Guttormson, and I own BIM Studio, which is a fitness studio here in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And we offer a variety of classes that were born from the idea that you could offer group fitness for the masses, a place where all ages, fitness levels, sizes, shapes could come in here and feel welcome and thrive. So that was my foundation, and I have been open for over 8 years now. And from those 8 years, it goes way back. I started teaching fitness classes when I was 17 years old. So I'm 45, do the math. It's been a while. And then I've been personal training for over a decade now. So over these many, many years, I have met some of the coolest, smartest people who I learn from every single day. And there's a quote that says to the, I'm probably going to ruin it, but it says, you know, hang out with people who are smarter than you. And I've always believed that because we never know everything and we have so much to learn. So when I decided it was time to bring things live, based on all these smart people that I've met, Tanya Mark of Mind Body Nutrition right here in Jackson Hole was the very first person I reached out to. I think that she has the most amazing mindset, and I've always felt really connected to her and her message, and felt that it really just intertwined with the message I'm always trying to send out. But in the process, what I'm going to tell you, Tanya, before I set you free, is that in our original phone call, I learned that I was not sticking true to my own message, which I fell into some of the traps that you're going to talk about today. And I was humbled, but also loved the opportunity to learn and grow. And what we're going to get into right now, Tanya's going to be able to share more of. And really, we're going to pull a lot of this BS out and lay it out there, allow you guys to interact and ask Tanya and myself anything you want. And we'll just set Tanya free from here. So welcome, Tanya. Thank you to the first installment of probably many.
I'm super honored that I am number one. Woo! Hey, and Julie, I really want to say thanks for just sharing that. Hey, we're all learning and trying to grow and expand. And I completely agree. I'll tell you a little bit about my story, because then you'll see where I was, where you're at. Meaning my past. I was a massage therapist for 12 years. I also was a personal trainer many years ago. Mm-hmm. Then I went to nutrition school in Denver. I'm also precision nutrition sports certified. But this is the thing. When I came out of nutrition school, I was like cray cray, like super neurotic with my nutrition. So I had the really long list of things that I restricted, no gluten, no dairy, no sugar, no nightshades, really long list. And I actually could do it well. And I thought hey, I'm a nutritionist. I have to walk the talk. So this is what I need to be doing.
I understand.
What's that?
I understand.
Right. And so here I am, living this lifestyle, really restrictive style of eating. And I have to tell you this story really quick, because while I was in Denver, my parents came to visit for Thanksgiving. And, I made dinner, but I made dinner according to all my rules. So everything was gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, like everything. And you know what? Honestly, it was very good. But then I was I had to pause and look at myself wow, I'm really pushing my stuff on my 80-something-year-old parents. I was like, wow.
Oh.
And so one of the things that I'm super grateful, when I was in Denver, I attended this workshop for the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, and they're in Boulder. And it was like, wow, like this huge light bulb went on. And I started recognizing that the neurotic nature, the restrictive nature, the stressful nature of my eating. And the Institute for the Psychology of Eating taught me that good nutrition is more than just what you're eating. It's how you're eating, when you're eating, why you're eating. And here's the really big piece, Julie, is who you're bringing to the plate.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we all are really unique. We all come to eating with unique thoughts, feelings, beliefs, experiences around food and the body image.
Right.
And, you know, when I returned to Jackson after all this, and I was practicing very eat this, not that style of nutrition. And I started feeling really out of integrity. Everything was very weight loss based, number on the scale equals success. And, you know, a lot of my clients would come to me, and these are really health conscious, very committed people to their health. And I have a tissue box. I actually am not in my office anymore. I've decided to go as of last October, I decided to go fully Zoom, which everything's Zoom these days.
Right. I know.
Tissue box next to my, you know, sofa where my clients would sit. And there's so many tiers around. Here's the kicker. You come in and you want to eat better. Mm-hmm. You know, we want to. But I started to notice that there was either this like little side plate, or I mean, sometimes it was a really big plate of, I'm really unhappy with my body. I don't like the way it looks. And there's two different kinds of worlds here. Either I'm struggling to maintain a body type that is accepted by culture, or I'm in a body type that isn't accepted by culture and I'm trying to change it. And a lot of tears around that. So that's when I really delved into and became a body image movement ambassador and a redefining health, redefining wellness ambassador, because that's when I started seeing that health is really, really complex. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not just doing the fitness and doing the nutrition, everything will be great. Mm-hmm. It's not that simplistic.
Right.
And Julie, I'll say, you know, as a former, you know, fitness trainer, I went to nutrition school believing that if I had those two magical pieces, like I'm going to solve all the world's problems.
Right. Well, it's funny you say that, because as someone, you know, who has grown up in this industry that wasn't even an industry when I started, it really began as a piece, the fitness side, it began as a piece of fun, which over the years, I never wanted to let go. And as I started diving into other aspects of how I wanted to grow my own career, you're right, nutrition and fitness tend to go hand in hand. But what I discovered over the years as I became a personal trainer, when people were saying, I need you to hold me accountable for, you know, what goes in my mouth and how much I exercise, there was a bit that I was torn, because I knew once I included the fun, whether it was, or when I took away when I added the food to what I was doing, it took away the fun. And there was a lot of mixed messages that I struggled with, which is why I personally have continued to keep that side separate and gladly send nutrition clients your way who want to explore that mind body, because you're right. It's not just exercise and diet, period. There's a bigger tool. There's such a bigger tool that we are constantly learning and dealing with. So your honesty has always been, your knowledge and your honesty have always been so valuable to me, and, you know, even from the aspect of my own space here.
Yeah. And Julie, I have to mention, you always bring the fun in the job.
Thanks.
It's one of my favorite pieces of them. So thank you. And I think that's such an important thing, is that we can be super helpful and help people get healthier in a very positive, fun, inspiring way. And, as I move forward, as I've changed the way I work with clients to this non-diet, intuitive eating, more weight inclusive style of practice, this is where I'm hoping, we go in this new normal, because right now we're in this crazy pandemic. And I recently wrote an article on the quarantine 15. We have to talk about that.
Yes. In fact, I'm just going to bring that up.
Yeah.
From a sense of fun, where I will dive into my own personal side of, this article and what we've discussed.
Yeah. So the quarantine 15, if you don't know what it is, it's all over social media, and it's joking, making a joke out of gaining a potential 15 pounds while we're in quarantine. It's referring back to when we were back in college, the joke of the freshman 15. So one of the things I do want to say is, I think humor can be a wonderful thing while we're dealing with stressful situations like we're currently in. But I think we also need to see the other side of it, that it can be harmful. And a lot of us just don't see it. And I get it, because it's like, haha, it's really funny. What's really important to notice about this social media hashtag is number one, and this is what I wrote in my article, it's perfectly normal. I got to put on my eating psychology hat and say that if you're eating more than you normally do, or you're eating foods that you don't normally eat, that you weren't really eating before the pandemic, or, perhaps, speaking of exercise, your exercise routine is completely shifted and changed perhaps, it's normal. It's normal for human beings, during stress, crisis, trauma, whatever the word we want to use, to go to food. And here's why. Yesterday I did a workshop on emotional eating, understanding emotional eating. And one of the things that I taught was that we're all emotional eaters to some degree. So when we were born as infants, we learned to equate food with love, comfort, when we're held as babies, so it's such an easy go-to, and we can really be so hard on ourselves under times of stress if we go to food. But again, I want to reiterate, it's perfectly normal. And, even when we come out of this pandemic someday, whatever happens, we need to recognize that there's plenty of other times we're dealing with enormous amounts of stress for other things. It could be, starting a new business, getting a divorce, a wedding. I don't know. It can be positive or challenging emotions, but it's normal to go to food for those reasons when we're really stressed. And, of course I teach, if you find that it's happening every day and that's all you're relying on, sure, we need to give you some, new coping mechanisms. But, the quarantine 15, in the article I said, we need to recognize it's actually body shaming.
Right. So for those of you who are just joining us, what we're talking about is an article that Tanya recently wrote. It's in the JH News and Guide. I will post it here on the Facebook page later today. But its title is As You Shelter in Place, Forget About Your Weight. And we're hitting that hashtag quarantine 15 that we used to advertise what we were going to talk about today. And what I will say is I personally fell into the trap. As hard as I, work to make everyone feel so uncomfortable comfortable in my space, I fell into this trap of what was intended to be humor in a time where we were all feeling a little dark, and come to find out, it truly was body shaming. And obviously that broke my heart, but also to be educated for all of us that it's a thing, and it doesn't have to be a thing. It's like, when will this cycle stop? Probably never, but can we educate ourselves differently? So that's where we're pulling Tanya in. And please feel free to ask questions. I think I can see the questions as they come up here, and I would love to, if you have any thoughts, comments, or questions along the way, please feel free to bring them along, and we're happy to do what we can to educate you. So go on, Tanya. So again, that article, as you shelter in place, forget about your weight, a very important topic that we are discussing today.
Yeah. So, Julie, and I want to say again, I didn't see it either years ago. I was like, wow, like all this stuff started just like hitting me in the face when I started recognizing like diet culture, like things that people were trying to sell me, by making me feel badly about my body. Mm-hmm. And I'm 51 now. But the thing is the same thing. My body is changing, I'm actually post-menopause too. So it's a really big topic on bodies do change, but we're taught that we're supposed to stay young, pretty, and, what's the third one? Young, pretty, and whatever. Like your bodies are never supposed to change. But it's the truth. Like, hello, nobody's getting out of here alive. We're all older. We're going to age. So those things are a reality. And this body piece, this body shaming piece around being fearful of gaining weight. Or here's the other thing. If you already live in a bigger body and this quarantine 15 hashtag is making fun of gaining weight, how do you feel?
Right. And everything seems to be so extreme from one sense, like, you should feel guilty if you eat this way. You should feel guilty if you don't eat this way. You should feel guilty if you're exercising too much. You should feel guilty if you're exercising not enough or not at all. Or did you cleanse? Did you not cleanse? Like, did you take on a foreign language while you were on? Like all of these things that are so extreme that make us as humans feel guilty when we don't, and guilty when we do. So we tend to living here. If anyone is listening from not here, it's a very extreme community. Like very few people do things in a non-extreme way, in one way or the other. So, that's something that you and I touched on. If we want to dive into that a little more from a fitness and diet perspective and the Jackson lifestyle.
Yeah. Before we jump into that, because I love this subject, going back to the quarantine 15 and how you're saying there's shaming about like not learning a foreign language too. So it's not just body shaming. It's like these shoulds of self-care when, the main point of the article was that, hey, we've got probably way more important things that we need to be prioritizing and focusing on now than these other things.
Right.
Yeah. And, moving on to the next subject of this body shaming piece and living in a very perfectionist around our food and our fitness here in Jackson Hole. When you and I started having this conversation about doing this Facebook Live, you had sent me an article that I had not seen. So I was super thankful that you sent it to me. And it was an article, if you haven't seen it, in Outside Magazine. And it's written by Beth Rodden, and she is a professional rock climber. She's won a zillion contest awards. She's also a mom. And lately, she has been sharing these very powerful, authentic, real posts about that we didn't even know about, because it had been going on since she was like 14. Was that right, Tanya?
Right, 14, yeah.
Where I think she was she was driving in a truck or something with somebody who was in their 20s, another climber.
Mm-hmm.
They were going climbing together, and she had gone into the bagel shop, got 2 bagels, with a bunch of, she loves cream cheese, I guess,
right?
Good cream cheese, ate those 2, and he made a comment to her that she's never forgotten and has started shaping how she felt about food and body image from that point. I think, do you remember what he said?
I don't.
I think it was something like, oh, the amount of calories you just consumed could keep you going for 2 days of climbing.
Right. Yes. Okay. Now I do.
And I think he said above the rear view mirror, as they're driving in his truck, it said something like pastries, and it had like the circle with the line through it. And she's like, why would anybody have I hate pastries? She's like, who hates pastries? But it completely changed the way she thought about, she started feeling shame for her food choices. And then she started to really dissect what she saw on her body, and was trying to have 0 body fat. And so she started developing disordered eating.
So let's talk about that side more, where I don't know anyone who has not associated with eating too much, with needing to get to the gym or do a big workout to take care of what they've done, associating those calories in, calories out, like that it's all one big happy family, and what happens to our head when we associate that, which is really why I do my best to create the fun environment so somebody can go, I love to go because I work hard. I love to go to Vim because I work hard, but I also have fun. Instead of saying, gosh, I had a big dinner and, I'm going to go cancel that out. So let's dive into that mental and physical association with exercise and food.
Yeah, I think I heard it referred to as the, what is it? Earn and burn or something like that, and I fell into that too personally, especially in my years as a personal trainer and then moving into nutrition. I was always, abs are made in the kitchen, blah, 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 you had to burn off. And you know what, in my 20s, I would go and drink my margaritas and have 3 baskets of chips and guac, and that's what I would do. I would go and run around Jenny Lake.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it seemed like it worked, because
you were 22.
I was 22. And here I'm going to bring up a term that most people have never heard of, but I work in this world of body image. And it's this term called thin privilege, meaning I have never had to worry about my weight. Just genetically, the way I was designed, I have with this, it's called thin privilege. So I don't know what it's like to live in a larger body. But after, I told you my story about how I started seeing that, I have many clients that could kick my butt in the gym, can lift heavier weights, can run marathons, can do all these amazing things, kick my, way better skier than I could ever dream of being. And the way they eat may be, quote, stricter than I even eat, but we have vastly different looking bodies. So, that's where we need to be talking about body diversity is just part of the human experience. But we judge people and think if somebody is just in a larger body, we make assumptions about them without really asking them, who they are and what they do. And I've, found out these amazing things by working one-on-one with my clients, that they do take incredible care of their health with fitness and nutrition, and they may meditate, they may do all these wonderful things, but here's a truth bomb. Mm-hmm. You and I, or maybe not you and I, but me and whoever can have exactly the same fitness routine, eat exactly the same way, and have vastly different looking bodies. It's just truth. But I didn't really understand that for years, and I never saw it until I was witnessing it year after year with clients in this town who could just, were incredible athletes, didn't have that quote Jackson look of fitness, but they were fit,
So how do you, in your profession, how do you dive into that with your clients? Like, what sort of takeaways could you leave? I know it's not something we can cure here in, the next 10 minutes, because we can't, but what sort of takeaway can we give, people listening that do feel these extremes and really don't know where to begin to just let go a little more and feel good about who we are?
Yeah. You're right. It's such a big topic. But my focus in my work with clients is on this: healthy behaviors, looking at actual health markers that indicate real health. And this is, before in my past, I focused on number on the scale equaling success. But now, that's not what I do. That's not my focus. So there's that piece. So we focus on healthy behaviors, but then there's a lot of times I really have to do a lot of body image work, because when I ask clients, no matter what their size is, they can usually tell me when they started to think differently about their body. When someone made a comment when they were 10, they were 12, somebody put them on Weight Watchers or whatever. So there's a lot of work of clearing out some of this mental, health looks this way. Health, we have to clear that out. It's not true. So there's a book called Health at Every Size. It's a evidence-based style way to take care of your health. And again, that style of promoting health is based on healthy behaviors, not on has to look this way or be a certain weight. So that's really important and powerful to teach all my clients, really, because whatever body type you currently live in, if you live in a body type that is acceptable by culture, there's still a lot going on up here in the mindset, like worry and fear, and trying to use the two tools that we're taught, like nutrition and fitness, to try and keep that body from ever changing. Or the opposite, you're in a larger body and you're trying to attain this perfectionist body type that is supposedly the look of health and fitness, but it may never ever be a body type you can attain. And here's the hard part, is that some people spend their whole lives trying to attain that, and that breaks my heart, and we need to stop this. So that's why I love that you're having this conversation with me as a fitness expert. I mean, because we can change this by making our spaces, whether it's me as a nutrition professional, you as a fitness professional, making our spaces very inclusive to the upgraded definition of health. And, the same thing with body image, health can come in different sizes and shapes. It doesn't always look a certain way. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. I'm still learning, and still things come out of my mouth that I'm like, same thing, Julie. I'm like, ooh, I think that was body shaming that I just said. Mm-hmm. And we have to be kind to ourselves, because we're all in this trying to improve things for everybody. And I want to quote Maya Angelou, because she had the coolest quote kind of about this subject. She said, I'm reading this: "Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, be better." And that's what we're doing here.
Perfect. Love it.
You don't know what you don't know. And then when you learn, you're like, oh my God, over the years, I'm constantly getting smacked in the face, trying to open my eyes up to what is true health. Mm-hmm. and how can we in the new normal approach fitness and nutrition in a more healthful manner that's very inclusive to everybody.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I listened to, oh gosh, I can't even point back. I've listened to so much over quarantine. And it was a fitness professional who brought up the point that for many people, this has been a sense of recovery with the body for people who have, when we talk about those extremes from the fitness to the diet, that, for many people, this could be a sense of recovery. Do you find that from a food, nutrition standpoint, big word, standpoint, that those two that recovery can come in a nutrition standpoint too, in cases like this, where people recognize even when they're eating more than they probably should or would in a normal situation? Like, do you feel like recovery is a word we can use in a diet and nutrition sense too? Or do you think that when we talk about that, it's more an extreme sense of, a physical recovery, mental recovery?
I love the question. My hope for the new normal when it comes to nutrition is that we start to see that the current nutrition model that's out there, and hey, I practiced in it for years, and it was very, good versus bad, guilt, like you'd feel guilt or shame, or, maybe you would go to a restaurant and wouldn't order the dessert, but then you would go home and eat it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like eating it. Like that's and I never really saw that as a problem for years. I just thought, hey, we're just taking care of our health and we're eating healthy. But during this pandemic time, for some of us, there are plenty of people who are really overwhelmed and stressed, but some of us do have the time to focus on what truly matters, and things are perhaps for some of us slowing down. Mm-hmm. And so in that quietness, my hope is that we can see that good nutrition is far more than just the what piece, which is really just the current nutrition model, is that nutrition is, the nourishment that we bring to cooking or to the eating experience, to connection around the dinner table, which maybe before the pandemic, we're all running around, hardly anybody eats meals together, maybe dinner, is that in this new norm, if we can get some takeaways to, this is my dream, Julie.
Make your dreams come true.
Yes, like they do come true. And that we start to look at the fact that we were born knowing how to eat, and we've lost it. And it's just, and this is the thing, it's not our fault. It's just like the culture, year after year, decade after decade, your grandmother, your mother, you pass it on to your daughters. Like this paradigm around fitness and nutrition is very rules based. Eat this and not that. And because of the rigidity of it, that's why a lot of people really struggle with it. This like black and white, all or nothing. And so we need to have this space in between where we learn about what is best for our bodies. Your body, because gluten-free is out there. Like some people, like that works, that, gluten really does bother them, but for the vast majority of people, maybe not. But the new normal for me is learning to turn into internal cues, which is known as intuitive eating, versus the outside rules, because there's a lot of wisdom your body has to share. But we just can't hear it anymore with all the noise of like the busyness of the world and the way that we've been living on this planet Earth, very rushed, over busy, never ending to-do list, is that there's a lot of wisdom there when we can listen to, instead of portion sizes, like learning how to honor your hunger, learning how to honor your fullness, understanding like satisfaction is an important part of eating. And if you're not satisfied, guess what? Like if you have like the cookie that tastes like cardboard,
Right.
Like I'm going to eat 10 of them so that maybe I'll somehow get satisfaction. You never do, because it doesn't taste good. When you could have just had one or two, whatever it is, like being like got satisfied, There
are a lot of quality cookies around here.
Yes, there are.
Do not waste your time. Go for the quality. To close out, whether it's advice, information, what do you want to leave people with today? Because we're still technically in quarantine, right? Or shelter in place. Things are slowly but surely going to change. But while we're still in this place of stop, what can you leave us with today?
I think what comes to mind most is asking yourself, what's your relationship with food? And it's a question most people never ask. It's always about what and trying to, quote, get healthy or manipulate the body. But it's a really critical piece that most people are missing. And I think if we can start to zone in and say, okay, I'm looking at my relationship with food. And like I told you, my relationship in the past was stressed and neurotic, but I thought I was healthy. I mean, if you look, people were complimenting me, being like, oh my God, like you're so fit and you have no body fat. But they didn't know like what was kind of behind it. Like my relationship with food was just like, whoa, little effed up.
Right.
But nobody could see that. I mean, there was a term called 𝘰𝘧𝘧𝘪𝘐𝑜, which means you're like hyper focused on only eating healthy foods. Like I was so good at it. But there's a mental aspect of your relationship with food too. It's not just physical. So I'm hoping that, the relationship with food can be something we can explore and even ask the dang question of yourself in this kind of pandemic slowdown period,
Well,
it's really a healthy relationship, Right. Here's a good one. I like to ask my clients this. If food were a friend, I mean, it would. See, I'm screwing it up. Like, because
this was going to be your magic moment to end it out, and here we are. That's you. You're with me, so that's what happened.
Yeah. If food were a friend, what kind of friend would food be to you? Like, so,
that's excellent. I like that.
Would food want to be your friend? And I'd be like, no. Like, yeah, I was eating all these healthy foods, but I was like neurotic around food. I'm like, no, you're not going to want to be my friend. You know what I mean?
I love that. I think everyone should ask that question. I mean, I think that's a great, and really on the other side, exercise. Are we making the right fitness choices for, to make ourselves live longer and stronger, or beat ourselves up, from a mobility and movement standpoint? Are you going to be able to function into your 50s, into your 60s, or are you going to pay a price? I think those two definitely go hand in hand. I definitely believe so. Anything else you would like to add before we close up here? Sure. Okay.
I'm just going to throw it in just because I'm excited. Next Monday, there's a conscious eating summit. So if you want to learn a little more about mindful eating or conscious eating, there's free tickets.
Great. I will post that. So look to the VIM Facebook page. And again, this will be a place you can come back and leave questions. Tanya will get back to you myself. If you have ideas, I loved talking to you today. Thank you so much. If you have other ideas that Tanya and I can revisit or visit in general, we talk well together. We got on the phone and we could not wait to do this. So we thank you today for your time. You will be able to listen to this on Facebook after this as well. But again, we thank you, and really just take care of yourself, and whatever that means right now, take care of yourself. There's life waiting on the other side, but right now we have to live in today, and that means loving yourself and taking care of yourself. So thank you, Tanya, for your time, everyone for listening in, and you haven't seen the last of us. Thank you.